everyone. Welcome to our session. My name is Aylin, and I'm a product manager on Search and Assistant.
I'm Will, and I'm an engineering manager on Search.
Today, we will talk about how to enhance your presence on Google with structured data. This talk is for content creators who want to bring rich experiences on Search and the Assistant. If you watch out our announcements yesterday, you may already know we launched 2 new structured data types, Howtos and FAQs. Today, we are going to cover these use cases in depth and show you how to get started. We will also do recaps on use cases we introduced last year, like news, recipes, and podcasts. Before we get started, let's take a look at the content ecosystem. For over 2 decades, Google Search has been helping creators to get discovered and help users to find and engage with the great content. This has been very useful given the amount of content that's online. And Google Assistant, which is helping users get things done, has also been helping users find and engage with the great content. We are seeing this increasingly. Just last year, we have seen Assistant's active usage grew 4 times. It's available on more than 1 billion devices, nearly 30 languages, across 80 countries. And let's take a look how users engage with content. When we look back 20 years ago, users was mostly consuming content on the web, and they were mostly on desktop machines. However, the way users are engaging with content has been constantly evolving. In today's world, we see users are consuming content on the web, mobile apps, and conversational assistants. They are using multiple devices and engaging with content more moments than before. Let's take a look at typical user journey, and let's see how they engage with content in a given day. In the morning, users can start a day by asking Google Assistant the latest news and start hearing fresh content from many news publishers. During a commute, users can ask Assistant to play the latest episode of their favorite podcast while they keep their eye on the road. And during the day, users browse and find information on many topics by using Google Search. For example, Mother's Day is coming up soon. So users could search the flower delivery timelines from different providers. And if they are too late to order, like I always am, they could start searching for last-minute gift solutions, like how to make origami flowers at home. And in the evening, users can ask Assistant to find recipes and get step-by-step guidance while they cook with their families. Reaching users on all these moments and surfaces is a great opportunity for content creators. But building and maintaining custom experiences on each of these surfaces and devices could bring additional overhead to you. Solving this problem is our motivation for working on structured data program. You focus on creating the best content using open standards, and Google will help you reach your users across Search and the Assistant without having to build a custom experience on multiple platforms. Last year, we announced news, recipes, and podcasts. The idea was, by using structured data on your website, your content becomes eligible for rich results in Search and voice-enabled experiences on the Assistant. Let's take a quick look at how you can start it with these. By structuring your podcast content with RSS, your users could find and engage with it on Search and the Assistant. By using AMP and implementing news article markup in your site, your content becomes eligible to get rich results in Search and get surfaced on Assistant automatically. And by just implementing the recipe schema.org markup on your website, your recipe content becomes eligible to get rich results on search and voice-enabled assistant experience on devices like Google Home Hub. You get out-of-the-box machine learning and speech recognition technologies without doing any custom work. We have been seeing great publisher success with structured data program. You can see a few quotes from recipe publishers, where they highlight the ease of engaging with their users on Assistant and getting out-of-the-box machine learning experience without doing any additional code work other than mark up their site. And that's why we continue working on our structured data program. I am happy to let you know that our recipe schema.org markup now supports video object. With this, you can mark up your video content on your site, and it will show up on Google Home Hub, where your users can engage with your content further. Not only we invest in our existing structured data types, but we are very excited to announce 2 new types at this I/O. These would enhance your content on Google Search and the Assistant. So we announced Howto, and Howto's is step-by-step tutorials on real-world tasks like how to tie a tie or how to install a doctor that walks users through guided journeys. And FAQs are questions that your users are commonly asking about your product or a service. Let's take Howto as an example, and let us show you how the consumer experience would look like. For our demo today, we created a sample website for making origami flowers. We added 2 tutorials in our website, and other than this, all we did was to use how to markup in this website. Let's see how this transforms the appearance on Search and Assistant. Let's take Search as an example. By just adding a markup on our site, appearance on Search became richer with preview of the tutorial with steps, along with the rich carousel of the images. And on the Assistant, when users are asked for things using natural language, like how do I make origami, Assistant will find and surface the right content. Let's see how our origami 2 tutorials for origami would show up on Assistant. Let's switch to live demo for smart display device, and let me show how this works in real life. So I'll go ahead.
The mic's back on.
Hey, Google, how do I make origami flowers?
Here's some instructions to explore.
So you can see 2 tutorials we added in our website just with markup now is available and surfaced on Assistant. I'll go ahead and pick the one. And you are seeing now, with the markup, our site's description is displayed in Assistant, along with the supplies and the steps count. So we can go ahead and start the tutorial.
There are 13 steps. I'll read them one by one.
With this, Assistant will automatically start talking about each step. So users can go ahead and engage with it just with voice. Hey, Google, next step.
Second step, orient the triangle with the long side along the...
And you see how each steps we marked up is showing up. Users can also engage with it by just tapping the screen. And as you see, for each step, our images are showing up, along with the supplies. And also, users can engage with it without you doing any custom speech recognition, like, OK, Google, last step.
Grab a pot and some crinkle paper and plant your succulent.
So you get the idea how your content is showing up in rich experiences on Assistant, out-of-the-box voice and speech recognition. And users can go back and engage more, and this would show up also to remember in the future they can continue from the tutorials. Let's switch back to slides, please. By just adding a bit of markup, your content becomes eligible for rich results in search, speech recognition and natural language understanding on the Assistant, and discovery on all these devices and surfaces. Now, Will is going to show us how to get started with markup and how easy it is to implement.
OK, so we're going to take a look at how Aylin built that demo we just saw. And we'll walk through the entire end-to-end developer journey here. What you got on search, plus that whole experience, the voice guidance, as well as the navigation, all that stuff is powered by the same markup. And before we jump into that, I just wanted to touch again on schema.org. Aylin showed us a couple examples earlier in the presentation of different types of objects. And schema.org, if you're not familiar, is just an open standard that defines a vocabulary you can use to add structured data to your site, to add semantics. There's a couple different ways you can do this. You can use JSON-LD, or you can use microdata. I like JSON-LD. It's a little easier to work with, so that's what we'll use today. And a couple things just to call out here, those top two highlighted lines. The first one tells us we're using JSON-LD, and the second one tells us that we're using that schema.org vocabulary, which Google understands. A couple other things to call out here. Structured data is not just for the text content, but also if you have great multimedia assets like images and videos, you can also specify those in the structured data, and we'll be able to do some really cool things, as you'll see in a moment. So please go ahead and mark those up as well. With that, let's switch over to the laptop, please, for the demo. OK, and this is the demo site that Aylin mentioned a couple moments ago. That how-to demo was built by adding markup to this page, how to make an origami succulent. Scrolling around just a little bit here, we have all the tools and materials you'll need to make this, as well as the individual steps, and some really nice instructional images to go along with that content. So we're going to add markup to this, and I'll show you how to use the search tools to validate your implementation and get a nice preview of what this might look like on the search page. The way that I kind of like to do this is to use this tool called the Rich Results Tester. There's a couple different things you could do. You could develop locally and then stage your URLs so that the tool can see them. Or you can just edit code live in the tester. I think that's a little easier, especially if you're using JSON-LD. So we're going to do some live coding here, and then you would just go ahead and copy that back to your website. It also will give you, as I said, a kind of a rich preview of what you'll get on search, which is really neat. If you're familiar with the structured data testing tool, by the way, this is effectively the successor to that, so you can go ahead and start using the Rich Results Tester tool. OK, so we'll open this up and switch over to the code tab. And what I would do is go ahead and just put in a skeleton of my document to make it easy to work with here. I've done that in another tab. So I just put, again, a skeleton kind of HTML document, and then, again, those hallmarks. We have the LD-JSON script tag. This will be in the head or the body of your page. And we're using the schema.org vocabulary. Now we're going to use the new how-to object, which we announced today, and just give our how-to a name, how to make an origami succulent. We'll hit test code, and with any luck, we should have a valid how-to object. And we don't. Right, we have an error. But that's OK, because the Rich Results testing tool detected that our how-to was on the page, but we're missing a required field. You can't have a step-by-step how-to without having steps, obviously. So this is what that's telling us here. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to add in those steps, and then we'll have a how-to. Again, I've kind of put that code sample into another tab, and I have the steps here. This is going to be a collection of how-to step objects, and this is all documented on schema.org. I'll take these and I'll bring these up into our document here. Hit run test. Give it a minute. And now we have a valid how-to. OK, so this is the really cool part. I'll show you this new tool, the search preview. You can hit this, and we could see what this might look like on Google search. And there are a couple things you might get here. This is kind of the visual image forward treatment, where you can see the names of the steps that we added a moment ago below the tiles. It doesn't look like much yet, because we haven't yet added the images, of course. But we also have something for text forward how-to content. If you don't have those great instructional images, but you still have how-tos, we have another treatment which we might show you, which is this accordion interface. And this also does some pretty neat stuff. It'll show you some metadata. And as we go back later and add that in, you'll see how this livens up. OK, so we'll go back. And this time, what I'd like to do is add in the images. So again, I don't have those URLs memorized, but I have them in another tab over here. We'll go ahead and we'll put this instructional image from the site. So it's going to be the URL for this image. We'll put that in step 1. And then we'll add the other image for the next step to step 2. Run our test. view the search result. And now you can see how these how-tos really come to life if you do have that great image content. So please go ahead and mark them up. We think this looks really, really great and really helps you enhance your presence on search. If we go back one more time and take a look at the message we're getting from the rich results testing tool, you can see that we have a few warnings here. And so there's a lot of other stuff you can add to your how-tos, a lot of metadata, time to completion, description, and again, those tools and materials we saw on the demo page. And when you go ahead and you add all of those in, you'll see these optional field warnings go away. So what I've done is, actually what I'm about to do is, if we just go back to the rich results tester one more time, and we take the URL for that site, we'll just validate the live implementation. Just give it a minute here. OK, great. Preview the result. And now you can see all the steps here in the carousel. You can see this nice metadata about the materials that you'll need to do the how-to, which will really help your user make a decision if this is the right content for them. And on this experience, you can see that we have the estimated amount of time it will take to complete the how-to, and again, all of those tools and materials. And by the way, Google will pick the right rich result type based on your user and the context. So if you have images, you still might get this accordion interface, in which case the images will appear in line in these sections here. So that's pretty much it. I think we did that in about 5 or 6 minutes. And it's just one investment on top of your existing content. And we think this is a really great way to, again, help your results stand out on Google search. It goes without saying that anything you do in the rich results tester, if you do it just like I did it here, won't actually affect your search appearance. You have to copy it back to your site. So don't forget to do that. And also head into Search Console, and you could submit your sitemap or your URLs for reindexing to just give Google a hint, hey, there's some stuff we might want to check out there. So go ahead and do that. Let's switch back to the slides, please. OK. Second here. Great. OK. So to close the loop, let's talk about metrics. Search Console is a place you can go, and it will give you tools and reports on traffic and detecting issues with your structured data implementation on your site. This is kind of always the place to go, and it's the place that you'll continue to go to make sure that you're using these new types correctly. So along with the markup, we're also introducing 2 new things for how-to and FAQ. We have these new search appearances. And these search appearances will give you all those stats that you know and love, like impressions and clicks and your average position, for search results that show with one of these new rich result types. So you can go ahead and you can start checking those out as soon as your content is indexed and you start getting traffic on Google search. Finally, make sure to monitor your new enhancement reports when you add the structured data. We'll also have one for FAQ and how-to. And this basically shows you, gives you a bird's eye view of the health of your implementation for your site. Each of the green bars there you see is, in this case, a valid how-to. Yellow would be how-tos with warnings, and red are broken how-tos. So especially as you're adding more content or more types of markup over time, you're going to want to keep an eye on these enhancements reports. And finally, don't forget to check out the unparsable structured data report, which hopefully is pretty self-explanatory. But this just went live, I think, last week. So again, it's a good tool to kind of get a grip on your site's overall health. OK, and as Aylin mentioned, we're also pleased to announce that FAQ is launching today, and you get all the same tools and support that we just saw for how-to for FAQ. So we won't go through that whole DevX, but what we will do is a quick demo, and you get some really cool stuff out of the box that I'm going to want to show off. So going back to our demo site, in addition to the how-tos, we also added an FAQ page, and I just picked a couple FAQs here. What's the point of origami, and what's the right age to start making origami? And this is what you get on search in the assistant. It's a little bit hard to see, but on search, again, you get this new rich result type, and you get to bring some of that content forward onto search to help your users kind of navigate. On the right, you get more of a one-shot answer format, where it will take that FAQ content, and it will surface the correct answer for the user based on their query. And there's more than meets the eye there. So let's switch over to the Pixel device, please. And I'd like to do a demo. OK, so first I'll just start out by asking the assistant, what's the point of origami, exactly the way that it's put on the FAQ page there. Hey, Google. Hey, Google. Ask origami flowers, what is the point of origami?
According to Origami Flowers, the goal of origami paper crafting is to create an often intricate design from a single sheet of paper in a series of simple folds.
Great. OK. So it knew how to kind of again, no custom action built for this. It just pulls the markup right off your page and serves the user the answer. And we'll try the other one just to be sure. So, hey Google, ask origami flowers, what's the right age to start making origami?
These came back from a search.
Hey Google, ask origami flowers, what's the right age to start making origami?
According to Origami Flowers, many children in Japan begin making origami as early as preschool, but it is up to you to determine when your child has the hand-eye coordination, manual dexterity, and patience to practice this art.
Great. Sometimes this thing has trouble with my accent. New Jersey. OK, so now this is kind of the cool part here. If I formulate this query in a way that's more natural to me and doesn't actually overlap at all with any of the text on the page, it will still it will still serve the right answer. So if I say, hey Google, ask origami flowers if my 4-year-old is too young to make origami.
According to Origami Flowers, many children...
And there it is. So, OK, so let's switch back to the slides, please. And what we saw there was speech recognition and NLU and this stuff called semantic matching, which you get right out of the box from Google Assistant, and it's powered by Google's machine learning. And so here what we saw was 2 completely different queries, one as stated on the page and one completely different. And Google, in kind of a different twist to what we saw with Howto, not only understands what the user intends, but also understands the meaning of your content and can deliver the right answer. And so this is pretty cool. No defining grammars, no new code, no deployments, right out of the box. And this is the implementation for FAQ, and it's not really much of a demo because it's not really very much. So we think you get a whole lot out of just a minimal investment on top of your existing content. So to recap this section, we talked about schema.org, FAQ, and how to markup. I showed you how to use the rich results tester to validate your implementation and get a preview of what you might get on Google Search. And we used the Search Console to monitor our site's health over time. And here are some tips. If you're using the rich results tester, and especially if you're copying around code samples, watch out for special characters in the markup, smart quotes, and stuff like that. It might give you some weird output, and just stick to the good stuff. For how-to markup, this is really intended for step-by-step how-tos, so a sequence of instructions to help a user achieve a specific task. Don't use it for lists of related information. We really want this step-by-step guidance that Aylin demoed. And don't include step prefixes or suffixes either, things like step 1, for instance. Google, based on the surface and the context of the user, will understand the right way to frame up the information for the user. So a visual interface versus a voice modality, you may want to do different things with that content. So just give us the content, and we'll put it in the right context for the user. And finally, when you're marking up your images, please just mark up the original images that you're using on your site. Don't give us thumbnails. Don't give us previews or anything like that. And again, the reason for that is Google will create the right size thumbnails in the right aspect ratio for the surface that the user is on. For FAQ markup, just one thing I want to call out is this is really for answers provided by your brand. So if you have a user form on your site, for instance, that's OK, too. We have a type of markup called QA page markup, and that launched last year. So you can go ahead and use that instead. And that's linked right from the FAQ documents. So now Aylin is going to talk to us about another way to add structured data to your great how-to YouTube content called templates.
Will showed us how easy it is to get started on the assistant by just implementing a markup in your site. And that was really cool. But we recognize not all the content creators maintain a website. That's why we have an alternative solution to build an actions on assistant called templates. Templates is the easiest way to build for assistant. No programming knowledge is necessary. To create an action, all you need to do is to fill in your content in Google Sheets and upload it in Actions console. With templates, you can create engaging conversational actions like trivia games, personality quiz, flashcards, and we are very excited to introduce newly added type for how-to video tutorials. It's a video-based template where you can create step-by-step tutorials on Assistant by using your own YouTube videos. All you need to do is to anchor how-to steps from your video with timestamp, title, and description. And again, similarly, like we showed in the earlier demo, your content becomes available to show up when your users are asking about natural questions, how do I make origami? In this example, we specifically created a YouTube video and uploaded in Actions console. So let me show how that experience would look like on device. Can we switch to Smart Display demo, please?
The mic's back on.
Hey, Google, how do I make an origami bouquet?
Fold the square piece of paper in half horizontally and vertically. Flip the paper
Hey,
over
Google.
and fold along.
Pause. So you are noticing, similar to our earlier demo with the markup, again, we get all the steps anchored in the spreadsheet in here, and we get the video alongside with the steps. And this is the video that we just hosted on youtube.com. And again, we can go ahead, the same experience by tapping.
Unfold the right flap. Hold the left side of the kite down.
Hey, Google.
Open the flap.
Maximize.
Made in step 3, so it collapses into the kite shape.
Hey,
Repeat
Google,
all of.
last step.
Make as many lilies as you'd like to fill a bouquet. You have the perfect Mother's Day gift.
Basically, with this example, again, your users on Assistant can go through the step-by-step guidance without needing to tap, and while they are following the tutorials, they can navigate with voice. And we created all this just with the spreadsheet. And now, let me go to my laptop and show you how you can get started with the same experience. Can we switch to laptop, please? Awesome. So I already went ahead and created a project earlier, but Howto video templates are available for developer preview today. You need to opt in. You can go to our documentation to see how you can opt in and get started, and very soon we are going to make it default. So the first thing you do when you go to Actions on Google Console, you create a project, you pick the templates, and you'll see the Howto video. And once you click that, this is the first screen that you will see. So all you need to do is to fill in your content. So let's get started how to do that. So the first thing you have to do is to create the sheet. So we have predefined Google Sheets that you can make a copy and start filling immediately. So this is going to take a couple seconds to make a copy for us. And we will see, awesome. We just start with the README file. You can also go through the documentation to read more, but this is just to familiarize yourself which experience you are getting with the templates. You can add as much as YouTube tutorials as you want, and as you add the YouTube videos, this shows up as a tile card in your homepage. And this is how your users may find your information by explicitly asking for your action, like talk to or ask. And this is the video screen where your videos will show up with the steps, the description, and the anchors that you added. So this was similar to what I demo just on the Smart Display device. And let's go ahead and see how you can get started filling the content. This is where you are just getting your YouTube URLs and pasting it. And you can just go ahead and name your tutorial and give it a summary. And once you do that, you can move to step section. And for each of the tutorials you edit, it will automatically be populated in here, and you can go ahead and anchor them by the steps. You give the title to a step, timestamp of the video, and just the bullet points for an additional description for your users. So let me just edit something minor. Let's say hello from Google I/O. This is not a step, but just to give some string in here. Let's save it. So all we need to do is to copy this, go back to our Actions on Google Console. And now, next step is for me to upload the content. So let's go ahead and paste this and upload. While this is uploading, we are running some validations behind the scene. This validation passed, but I just want to familiarize yourself what's happening behind the scenes. If you noticed in our sheet, we have some sections that is required fields. So you just ensure that you are filling all the required steps to make sure validation doesn't fail. And just to ensure we create the best user experience in the devices, we have some limitation to characters, so make sure you handle those. But don't worry, even if you miss something, in our client side, we already run some validations to warn you. Let's go back to Actions console, and now we are ready to go to simulator and test our sample action. So for those of you who are not very familiar with the Actions on Google simulator, you can see the first time the preview may take a few seconds to load our draft in here. Let's give it some time. But you can, I just want to familiarize you with the stuff that, with the simulator you see in here. You can simulate experience by giving a different language, different location. So if you are specifically testing for certain users in certain demographics, you can go ahead and mimic those in the simulator. And you see in here, there is a version. So if you are iterating, keep publishing different versions, you will see all of your versions. So you can test, simulate, and compare different versions and decide which one looks the best. For this project, I only have the draft one. And let's go ahead and start the simulation with the draft. So we see in here that this is where your users will be, where you will just mimic what your users might be saying to your action. You see now 2 of the instructions we put in our spreadsheet showed up. We can go ahead and pick the one. This automatically starts the video. This is the video we just played, and you notice that now that our change in the spreadsheet automatically populated in real time. The idea is the same. In simulation, you can go ahead and navigate through and just try to simulate it how your users would engage. Check out the experience. You can also do the same thing by just adding some voice commands. You either type or you can also enable the mic to input by voice. Let's say next step, and this is jumping to the next step. So you get the idea how you can basically test your actions before you publish. And once ready, you can go ahead, add your information, and you would be ready to submit this action. Basically, can we go to slides, please? Basically, it was like that easy to build an action just by filling out the spreadsheet. And once ready, once you publish, you will also start getting the analytics. So you can see your traffic, active usage, and the details about your conversational metrics, like the number of conversation and messages happening. Just to recap, with templates, we build a how-to video tutorial by going to Actions on Google Console, picking up the how-to video template, filling out the spreadsheet by adding our YouTube videos, and we were ready to simulate real time. And once we feel comfortable with the action and test it, we can go ahead and publish that and start monitoring to see how users are engaging. And some tips, just make sure you are anchoring your own YouTube videos. Make sure you are logged into Actions on Google Console with the same account that you use for your YouTube videos. And if you are a brand account, if you are verified on YouTube, make sure you also follow the similar verification steps in Actions on Google Console. Similar to markup, watch out for smart codes and special characters when you are pasting your step descriptions. When you test locally in simulator, you can catch these type of errors and fix it. So always make sure you go to simulator and test before you publish. And just make sure you fill in all required fields and make sure you are following the specifications to pass the validations. And now, Will is going to help us put together for the session recap.
OK, so to recap, users are engaging with your content in more moments than ever before. But being present in these moments, while it represents a great opportunity for creators to connect with their audiences, can be a real pain for developers. It's hard to keep up with the proliferation of platforms and devices over time, and a lot of times you have to build a custom app for each one of those. So this is the problem that we're trying to solve with the structured data program. By adding a single addition to your existing content, you can get that content out to more users more of the time in more of those moments than ever before across the entire Google ecosystem. And that's why we're expanding the program even further to add 2 new use cases to serve 2 large user needs, FAQs and how-tos. Not only that, you get to bring the very best of Google to bear for your users. You get the power of Google's machine learning on the assistant, and you get these lush visual search results on Google Search. So we showed you 2 developer journeys today, one for site owners who have great existing content, and another for creators who have great how-to content on YouTube. The markup journey, in that, I showed you how to add how-to and FAQ, by the way, markup to your existing content. We use the rich results testing tool to validate our implementation and get a preview of what that's going to look like on search. And don't forget to keep an eye on your Search Console over time to check your enhancement reports and the unparsable structured data report. For our YouTube how-to, we used Google Sheets to add structured data to our video via templates in the Actions console. And we also showed you how to use the AOG simulator and keep an eye on those AOG analytics. So here it all is again in one place. And when you leave the session, you could start right away, adding how-to and FAQ markup. You'll immediately be eligible for these rich results on Google Search. And coming soon, you'll get those amazing assistant demos that we showed you moments ago, the how-to guided experience on a smart display, and the conversational UI on the mobile assistant for FAQs. And how-to video templates are now in developer preview. So go ahead, go log into the Actions console, check it out, and check out our documentation to get started. With that, thanks a lot. Don't forget to come check out our sandbox. It's H, and the documentation links for everything we showed you today are on the screen. We hope you enjoy the rest of I/O.